My name is David. For as long as I can remember, I relied solely on logic and science to explain the mysteries of life. I scoffed at spiritual matters and dismissed any notion of a divine presence guiding our fate. I believed that when life ended, everything would simply cease, a state of absolute nothingness with no reward or punishment. But a near-death experience shattered all that certainty, transforming my inner world and forever altering my understanding of mercy and justice. It began on a chilly autumn night when a relentless illness took hold of me. Fever and fatigue blurred my thoughts, and I felt my strength gradually slip away. As I teetered on the edge of consciousness, I sensed an indescribable shift, a gentle separation of my spirit from the confines of my physical form. Instead of descending into pitch-black oblivion, I found myself propelled into a realm that defied all earthly explanation. Floating above my motionless body, I watched my life unfold like an unedited film. Moments of joy, regret, triumph, and failure streamed past me in vivid detail. Every decision, every fleeting instance of pride or kindness was laid bare before my inner eye. I realized then that the weight of my past, every hurt I had inflicted and every mistake I had made, had built up into an invisible burden I had long carried unknowingly. In the midst of this profound reflection, I began to notice a soft radiance in the distance, a brilliant, pulsating light that slowly pushed back the surrounding gloom. Drawn irresistibly toward it, I moved closer until the light enveloped me, filling me with an overwhelming sense of calm and love. It was as if the very mercy of God was reaching out to soothe my troubled soul, assuring me that no matter how deep my faults might run, divine forgiveness was always within reach. Yet the journey was far from a simple ascent into pure serenity. As I traversed realms of both sorrow and hope, I was guided through corridors where the echoes of regret and despair whispered the consequences of lives lived without compassion. In those shadowed passages, I encountered images of human suffering, a powerful reminder that every act of cruelty, every instance of neglect, leaves an indelible mark on the soul. Here, the principle of divine justice was unmistakably clear. Our actions, for better or worse, have eternal repercussions. Then, in one of the most harrowing sections of my journey, a place I came to know as the Chamber of Reckoning, I encountered a scene that seared itself into my memory. In this chamber, reserved for those whose actions had sown profound suffering, the air itself seemed heavy with unspoken agony. As I stepped cautiously forward, I beheld a figure whose presence radiated an aura of unspeakable cruelty. I recognized him immediately as the man historically known as Adolf Hitler. In that grim and foreboding space, I witnessed a punishment that defied mortal understanding. There, Hitler was not a distant memory or a name recorded in history. He was a living embodiment of divine retribution. His punishment was unique and severe, a perpetual reliving of every moment of horror, every cry of anguish, every tear shed by those whose lives he had so callously destroyed. It was not a spectacle of vengeance for vengeance's sake, but a manifestation of absolute justice. The torment he experienced was the direct consequence of the immeasurable suffering he had inflicted upon others. As I watched in somber silence, the scene unfolded with both terrible clarity and profound symbolism. Each agonizing moment that he endured was a mirror reflecting the pain he had wrought, a constant, relentless echo of the lives lost and the families torn apart. There was no respite for him, no escape from the unbearable weight of his own actions. And yet, even in this scene of retributive justice, I sensed an undercurrent of divine purpose, a warning to all who would sow hatred and cruelty, and a testament to the fact that no act of evil escapes the notice of the Almighty. This encounter in the Chamber of Reckoning struck me deeply. It was a stark reminder that divine justice is both certain and impartial. Even the most heinous among us, regardless of their notoriety, are subject to the immutable laws of accountability. In that moment, I understood that the punishment meted out was not an act of personal malice, but the inevitable consequence of a soul lost to darkness. A sobering realization that resonated with the teachings of both the Christian faith and the universal call for justice. Leaving the chamber, I continued my journey through this otherworldly realm. I moved from the depths of despair into a vast, luminous field, a place where the splendor of divine mercy shone forth in every blade of grass and every ray of light. Here, families reunited, long-lost friends embraced, and wounds inflicted in mortal life were tenderly healed. In this serene environment, I witnessed the profound transformation that comes from accepting God's love, a transformation that does not erase the past, but redeems it through forgiveness and renewal. Overwhelmed by the beauty of this redemption, I cried out with every fiber of my being, "Lord, have mercy on us all." The plea resonated like a sacred hymn, and in response, the radiant light intensified, wrapping me in a warmth that felt both protective and transformative. It was a moment of profound clarity. I realized that salvation is not something to be earned through endless striving or self-flagellation. Instead, it is a gift freely given through sincere repentance and an open heart that embraces the love of God. Before I knew it, the vision began to recede. I found myself slowly drawn back toward the realm of the living. I awoke in a hospital room, surrounded by the anxious faces of loved ones. Although my body was weak and scarred by the ravages of illness, my spirit was buoyed by an inner light that no earthly suffering could extinguish. I had returned with a renewed sense of purpose, a steadfast commitment to live a life defined by compassion, forgiveness, and a humble acceptance of God's mercy. In the years since that night, I have strived to embody the lessons of my extraordinary experience. I have come to understand that every soul carries the potential for both great error and magnificent redemption. The memory of the chamber of reckoning, and especially the vision of the monstrous punishment meted out to a figure like Hitler, serves as a constant reminder of the grave consequences of cruelty and the unfathomable depths of divine justice. Yet, it also reinforces the hope that no matter how dark the past may be, God's mercy remains ever accessible to those who seek it with a contrite heart. This testimony is not meant to glorify retribution or to dwell on the horrors of human cruelty. Rather, it is a call to reflection, a plea for each of us to examine our own lives, to seek forgiveness for our shortcomings, and to strive for transformation in the light of God's boundless love. Even in a world scarred by hatred and injustice, there exists the promise of renewal. Every moment is an opportunity to turn away from darkness and to embrace the healing power of divine grace. I share my journey with you, not as an infallible preacher, but as a humble witness to the transformative power of God's mercy and justice. May my experience encourage you to seek the light in your own times of despair, to trust in the promise of redemption, and to remember that no soul is ever beyond the reach of divine forgiveness. In our shared humanity, let us find solace in the knowledge that every tear, every act of cruelty, and every moment of pain is known to God, and that in His perfect wisdom, there is always hope for a new beginning.